Hey everyone, I think I'm live. I'm just going to click a few buttons here and we'll see if this works. So let's see if everyone has joined me. Welcome to the She's Got Assets live stream. I'll be kicking this off soon. Oh my gosh, I think it worked. Okay. Welcome everyone to the She's Got Assets live stream. I'm the founder, Shona Lepis, and I'm super excited to have you. So I'll give everyone a few minutes to join in. We have a very timely topic tonight, so I can't wait to kind of dive in and talk about it. And I have some really exciting news at the end that I'm going to share. So if anyone can see me and hear me, know the drill, let me know. If you can see me, just say hi so I know I'm not solo on this. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, I'm going to get started in just a couple minutes. I'm just going to make sure all our tech is working. And again, let me know where you're calling in from. How your day is going, what the weather is like, maybe a highlight. I'm just checking that everything is like rolling here because sometimes it's a little bit glitchy. So yeah, if anyone is here, just gonna let everyone know that we're live. So yeah, really fun topic about all about insurance claims. So hopefully everyone can see this. All right, I see a few people joined. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. All right. Well, it's a beautiful day in Portland. I've been very productive in the office all day, so that is my share. Just changed clothes quickly to do this. I've been kind of slumping around all day, but if anyone is here, if you're tuning in later, just say hi. You can comment, and I will get back to you. This will also be in the course, so I think I'm going to just get started. I'm going to just kind of rearrange my screens here. Again, really fun topic that we're covering tonight. I think it's very relevant, so just give me 1 second here. I'm going to share my screen, and let's see. Give me 1 second. I'm going to present slides. Nope. 1 second. Share screen. Okay. Make sure I have the right screen. Okay, I think that's it. Awesome. If anyone's watching, let me know. Okay, but I'm pretty sure that you can see my screen. So I'm going to dive in. Again, if anyone, I'm just going to make sure this works. If anyone's tuning in later, feel free to ask questions, let me know, and we'll certainly address all of them. So, all right. So I'm just going to reintroduce myself. Hey, I'm Shona. I'm the founder of She's Got Assets. We do these weekly live streams every Tuesday at 5. So welcome if you haven't joined us yet, but I always like to lead with a bunch of value and hopefully some insight and some takeaways. And then, of course, I do have a course. Tonight I'll be talking about the Midterm Rental Playbook course, which is, I teach you all about how to maximize your cash flow, fully book your midterm rental, and get it launched and marketed and all that fun stuff. So really from soup to nuts. Been working with a lot of successful students lately. So tonight the topic is the midterm rental insurance strategy. It's definitely a niche strategy. I think we always think of a certain avatar for midterms. We're really going to unpack that tonight in the different kind of avatars, especially insurance. All right, so before we dive into that, a little bit about me. And again, if you're watching, stay tuned to the end. I have a really exciting offer and some news to share with you guys. So don't leave before you hear the news. All right, so a little bit about me. My husband likes to say I was raised by capitalist hippies. I'm from Northern California. Growing up, I helped run the family vacation residence. So basically, rentals are in my DNA somehow. I grew up kind of folding sheets, and there were always sheets in the dryer. So that was how I grew up. Again, I'm originally from California. I never thought I could afford real estate. It seemed very unaffordable. And then way back in 2005, I house hacked my way into real estate investing. It was called having a roommate, but it wasn't as cool as it is now. So I did that, and I've been a landlord since 2006. And I used to hide that I was a landlord because I thought I would be judged. I thought people would, think we're all evil. But now I'm certainly out there and upfront about being a very good landlord. I take care of my properties. I really care about tenants and guests. All right. So previously to becoming a full-time investor, I was the co-founder of a creative agency. This is our rock star picture. Here I am. I've been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole career. I'm forever an outside cat, as someone once said. I love that. I'm very, very outside cat. So this used to be kind of a side hobby. Now I'm a full-time real estate investor. I'm certainly a serial entrepreneur. I'm the founder of She's Got Assets. I'm the podcast host and author of a couple of courses, the REI Playbook, which we're going to talk about tonight, and the MTR playbook. Actually, we're talking about the MTR playbook tonight. And then Cedar and Porch Properties and Shona Buys Houses, where I buy off-market properties. So we have a mix of long and midterm rentals in Portland, Oregon. I love coffee, baking, design, treasure hunting, and I'm really obsessed with all things real estate, which maybe you are too if you're listening to this or watching. All right, so moving on. I'm just going to silence my notifications here. Sorry, one second. All right. So if you don't know what midterm rentals are, I'll just explain that. So just to kind of level set. So midterm rentals are they're 30 plus day stays in a fully furnished property. Generally, it's expected that utilities are included, but we do charge a premium for that. So that is what a midterm rental is. Unlike a short-term rental, which is like a couple of nights, long-term obviously is generally like a year lease. So the benefits of a midterm rental, well, I love it. You can like 2 to 5 extra cash flow compared to long-term rentals. It really depends on the kind of avatar that you have staying with you. There's generally only a couple turnovers a year, right? Which is amazing. Like, you know, when you have a short-term rental like an Airbnb, you're constantly turning over, making sheets, managing cleaners, managing communications, managing, you know, high maintenance guests that have a lot of questions. They're there for vacation. I really believe that we're providing needed service. You know, people need a place to come for all kinds of reasons. They're either, you know, traveling for work on contract, there may be digital nomads, maybe a displaced family from an insurance claim. We're really going to unpack that tonight. So I just think essentially you get more freedom from your investment and you avoid all the short-term rental laws that are really changing on a dime. Like in my market, they just really crack down on unlicensed Airbnbs, right? So a lot of people are kind of really switching gears and they had invested a lot in their Airbnbs, and now that business is no longer functional for them. So that you don't have that with midterm rentals. There's a couple different property types and guest avatars. Everyone kind of wants to know what property makes the best kind of asset class for midterms. So in my experience, they all work. I really have the range, you know, going from like a studio, 1 bedroom, that's really geared towards your traveling medical professionals, business travelers, digital nomads, right? Digital nomads are folks that can kind of work from anywhere as long as they have a dedicated workspace and good Wi-Fi. COVID really opened that up. That's kind of one avatar. And then you get into a little bigger spaces like the 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Again, we're like corporate clients, traveling nurses, business travelers, digital nomads, students, families in transition. That's so they all kind of work. And then we get into the bigger properties, right? Like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath is kind of the typical American house. That's definitely a very desirable property. Again, very similar kind of avatars. I can't talk. You know, again, business travelers, traveling nurses, students, but really the main one that I see and that's pretty common is temporary housing for displaced families. So we're going to unpack that. But when you think about a family, they're usually, you know, typical families, a couple adults and kids and pets and whatnot, and they're generally in like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home, right? So they need to be placed in something comparable if they're filing a claim. So we're going to unpack that tonight. All right. So how to 2 to 5 extra rental income with the midterm rental insurance strategy. We're going to really dive into the nuts and bolts here. And this is all covered in really good detail in the course. And if you're watching in the course, if you have any questions, you know, definitely post in the private student Facebook group or let me know. But this is really the most lucrative strategy in the midterm space. So basically, as we all know, your insurance has deep pockets. So there's kind of 3 different players in this field, right? You have your insurance company. We all pay our insurance bill like Allstate, USAA, State Farm, right? Those are kind of some bigger ones, right? So there's an insurance company. And then you have your additional living expense service providers. And the biggest one in the industry that most people know about is ALE Solutions. They're a huge business, about a $30 billion business. And those are the 2 key players. And then you have your hosts or homeowners, right? Which is us. That's where we come in as a housing providers. So what happens is you have as a homeowner, you have some kind of disaster like a fire or maybe your pipes burst, right? And you have to get it rehabbed. So you call your insurance company, you file a claim, you have an adjuster come out to your house and they confirm there's damage and they say, okay, we think it's like 3 to 6 months or whatever they estimate. And they're going to send you over to an ALE Solutions servicing company. And there's a lot of them out there and they'll reach out to you. You'll start recognizing what the leads look like when they come in. So that's kind of the high level picture of what who's all involved with insurance claims. So when there's huge demand for insurance claims, I don't like to just focus on insurance, but know there was really big demand. And if you, like I teach in the course in the midterm rental playbook, if you know how to optimize your listings, if you're in the right place, then you will get some of these leads 100%. Like I get a couple leads a week for these kinds of claims. So we really dive into that in the course, or if you're in the course, make sure to download the checklist that we have. So some quick stats, there's 80 to 100 claims per day, 560 claims per week, almost 2,500 per month and almost 27,000 claims per year. That's a lot, right? That's just, from one relocation company. So to kind of break down what happens, what happens in the insurance claim process, right? So we're the homeowners right here. Something terrible happens, maybe there's a fire or a flood or something was left on. We have to keep that in mind. It's a really traumatic experience for families, right? Like they're living in their home and one day to the next, something bad happens. And so they're just kind of out of their home. So this disaster happens. All kinds of things can happen. Unfortunately, it's just life. They file a claim and, with their insurance, they will be put up in a hotel, which, when you think about it, living in a hotel with a full family and pets is really not very comfortable, right? I'm working with one family and they've got 2 teenage kids and they have pets and they've been put in a 2-bedroom suite and the kids are teenagers, which is, it's awkward and the dog can't go out to pee. So they're just really uncomfortable and it's very unnerving. So it's not a comfortable place for them to stay, but they do stay in hotels until they can find, temporary housing. So after this, they file a claim, they stay in a hotel. This is where the ALE service temporary housing companies kind of come in. ALE providers, the biggest one is ALE Solutions, or one of the biggest ones, I should say. They kind of come in because insurance companies are not housing providers, right? So they bring in these third-party companies to help facilitate that, and that's their job, is to place these displaced homeowners in temporary housing. They're often called relocation specialists, so they'll connect with them, right? And they'll kind of look in there's certain websites they're looking in their own databases, which we cover in depth in the course, how to get yourself listed, right? So they're going to connect. We're going to connect. You're going to say, hey, I have this property, and we're going to negotiate a price. We'll kind of cover how to do that in the next couple slides and in the course. So we negotiate the price. They say, okay, got it. What's your cleaning fee? What's your pet fee? I have all that outlined in the course of what they're going to ask you generally. And then they will take it to the adjuster for approval, and the adjuster has to approve it. Sometimes there's a little bit of negotiation, right? But that's kind of how the process works. And once they approve it, there's a whole, piece here of you draft the lease paperwork, you get all that, and then the family moves in, right? But that's kind of high level how this process works. There's a lot of parties involved. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of back and forth, and you just have to stick with it. And you just think you're really helping families here, and it's well worth, all the back and forth with all the different parties. So those are kind of high level, the 7 steps. So now we're going to cover kind of the types of claims, right? Like I'm in Portland, Oregon. Last winter, there was a major, major storm. Like it was natural catastrophe. Trees were falling in houses. It was awful. People were displaced and there was a lot of need for housing. So here's an example. The message that I got, hi, we had a tree fall in our house. We're looking for a fully furnished short-term rental. Looking forward to talking with you about your house, right? So notice the language they're using. They're saying fully furnished short-term rentals. We always want to include that kind of language when we're doing our listing, right? To let people know we understand that it's temporary. They're not staying there for a year, right? So that's just an example of an inquiry that I got, very typical. Let's see, and here's another example. This is from ALE Solutions. This is like a photo of a fire. It says we have a local family that has had some damage in their home. I found this rental in our database and wanted to see if it's available. See, we listed in their database and they were looking. If not, do you have any others, right? And they kind of they'll tell you who's looking, who they're looking to place, what the pets are, and all that stuff. So this is why it's really crucial that you're listed in the right places, and we go over that in depth in the course. Here's another example of an inquiry. They don't always give you a budget. This is, I'd say, a little unusual, but they're saying unfurnished. They do accept unfurnished. I think there's a premium for furnished, so I definitely really like having furnished options. So they're saying unfurnished is 4,200, furnished is 6,200. I'm in the Portland, Oregon market. Every market is different, right? But this is pretty typical, I would say, for a budget. They're saying they need a 3-bedroom and 2-bath. Again, that's the classic specs. Even bigger is better because it's hard to find. And this is funny, you get really unusual pets, right? They have 3 indoor dogs, a bunny, and a lizard. I have not come across a lizard. I've been asked about chickens and ducks. Lizard is a first, right? But they're part of the family, so it's really important to be pet friendly. So how much does insurance pay for temporary housing? That's a really good question, right? And that we're gonna unpack that quite a bit here. So when you have homeowners insurance, and this is something you can look at on your own property, there's something called Coverage D or there's something comparable. So Coverage D is loss of use coverage. It provides financial support if a homeowner's home becomes uninhabitable because of a peril like fire or flood or water damage or whatever happens to the home where they can't live in it and has to be rehabbed. So loss of use coverage is also known as additional living expenses, ALE insurance. And Coverage D can help pay for additional costs incurred for reasonable housing living expenses if a covered event makes your house temporarily uninhabitable while it's being repaired, right? Like we can't live in a home if there's like mold, water, and water damage, or they're tearing up the walls and going down to the studs, right? That's just not livable. That's why there's temporary housing. That's where we come in. So ALE, or additional living expenses, Coverage D is loss of use coverage. It provides financial support if your home becomes uninhabitable. And there's 3 main types of ALE. There's, meals, storage expense, and, this is where we're falling in the temporary housing category, right? That's kind of where we're coming in as providers. It's really needed. So what to charge, right? I think that's everyone's biggest question, and it's always a bit nuanced. So there's no hard and fast formula, but there's some kind of guidelines and napkin math on what we can charge for insurance claims. So, it depends on where is the family coming from? How big is their home? We don't always have that we can, if they say, hey, I'm coming, it's like, 2 adults and 2 kids, right? We can kind of guesstimate and, what the neighborhood looks like. It helps to know the data, right? What the size of the home. We're going to kind of guesstimate the home value. The type of claim really dictates how long they might be there. Again, a fire can be like 6 months, water damage 3 to 4 months. It really depends, right? So there's a lot of data that we're taking in to kind of analyze it. And each policy is really different, has different benefits based on their insurance plan, floor price, et cetera, right? And yeah, there's just different price points, and it's all a little bit different. There's no policy that's the same. And sometimes I try and educate homeowners, hey, you have this much coverage depending on the value of your home. So that's helpful. They don't always understand that. So lots of use covers temporary housing, and this is really general, right? It may be different, it may be less, but on average, 30 to 30% of the dwelling value. So there's, accidental man-made catastrophes, that's fire, damage, water damage, smoke. And then there's natural disasters, right? Things out of our control or just happen. Fire, lightning, windstorm, hurricanes. Those are a couple of broad buckets. So temporary housing through the use of Coverage D. So there's some really basic napkin math. If we say like, hey, it's 20, their Coverage D for a year is at 20 to 30% of the value of their home. So if their home was worth 400,000, again, we're in a very expensive market. Some markets are less expensive. They'll have less coverage, right? So Coverage D is, let's say 20%, and that's 80K a year. You divide that by 12, and that's a budget of 7K per month. They're probably not going to use all of that, but we know generally that's the budget they have. So it's a pretty healthy budget, right? If you can kind of guesstimate the value of your home. And this is pure napkin math. It's always a negotiation. There's a lot of factors involved in it, but that's just really generally how it's calculated. So a couple of things to keep in mind, right, when they're looking for housing, it needs to be as close as possible to the owner's original home and like a like type of property, like a comparable home. If it was 3 beds, they're looking for a 3-bed home. Sometimes they can go to a 2-bed, right? But that their mandate is to put the homeowners in a comparable property. When they're looking for you, make sure your calendar's up to date. We cover this in the course. Make sure you're pet friendly. We cover how to protect yourself in the course. You know, Really big amenities are a fenced backyard. Everybody wants a fenced backyard that's really accessible from the home. Accessible homes are in high demand that have no stairs, that are so ADU is really ideal if we can. You know, ideally a bed and bath in the main floor and then available as soon as possible. Like these emergencies happen, they're not planned, right? So they're not looking to the future to get placement, right? So they can come in very quickly, very last minute. So you need to, if you're not available, you know, you obviously are not a good fit. So there's a couple again in the course. If you're watching this in the course, make sure to go to the download section. There's a couple really key insurance databases to list on that are yeah, so there's a whole slew of them. This is just like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, in the course, there's a whole spreadsheet. It's very detailed. I recommend if you're in the course, if you're watching in the course, or if you're interested in the course, you know, it's well worth it. I've compiled a really thorough list of where to list and how that way when there's a need in your area, they'll look at their databases to find you, hopefully. There's a couple other key places to advertise. You know, in my opinion, there's a lot of places, and I cover all of them in the course very extensively. I'd say Airbnb, there's some tips on that that I cover in the course, what to do and not do. Zillow Rental Manager, again, tips in the course on that. Furnish Finder, again, these are the top three, and then consider corporate housing by owner, VRBO, right? Or Verbo. Those are some really high level ones. Again, I have a whole list in the course. So if you're watching, make sure to check that out. And then you want to optimize your listing. We really cover that in depth in the course. How to use ChatGPT, like AI tools, to really dial it in, to use the right language to optimize it so you're getting found for claims. And then we cover this in the course, kind of what the relocation specialist for asked for to make sure to download that. And now, so that's like the overview of it. We go into more depth in the course and we cover on coaching calls. But if you're interested in learning more, I do have the midterm rental playbook, the MTR playbook, and we cover all of this. And we just really help you know from getting furnished to how to operate to how to market. It's all on demand. It's very thorough. We have templates and checklists. We have SOPs. The course also covers weekly one-on-one coaching calls. There's also a private community, and there's one-on-one coaching calls included. And we also have yeah, you can invite a team, like a partner if you want. It comes with one partner membership. And this is the exciting news part. I think this is my last slide. So the brand is She's Got Assets. And when I launched this, the domain wasn't available, but I have secured it. So I officially own She's Got Assets, which is really exciting. So if you're watching this, I have a special code if you want to sign up, and this code expires in a couple days. There's limited spots, but it's the code is She's Got Assets. So if you're interested, if you're watching this after the fact, reach out to me. I'll get you the code, see if it's a good fit for you, and you can sign up. But it's a great code. It's $200 off the course. So that is the overview of insurance leads, but I've had so many leads, and I really enjoy helping families, and I think it's a needed service, and it's just, you know, it's a great thing. It helps your cash flow, it helps families. It's really a win-win. So that is the overview there. I'm going to see if anyone has questions. If you're watching this later and you want to learn more about the MTR playbook, just drop a comment in the comments or message me, and I will certainly follow up. But I'm just a really big fan of it, because I believe we're providing housing for people that really need it, like they're in distress, and we're able to charge a premium for the flexibility of the leases. And so yeah, and there's certain ways we negotiate with the insurance adjusters, which we cover on the course. If you are a member, if not, you can chat with me about it if you're interested in joining. So I will see if there's any questions, but if you got any value from that, like, please let me know. Hey, Sherry, awesome. Thanks for joining. Hey, Susan, awesome. Thank you. Hey, Michelle, awesome, from Richmond. Awesome. Well, there is time for a little bit of Q&A if you guys have questions. I'm definitely here. If you're watching this after, yeah, feel free to comment. Again, if you want that code, just drop code in there, but the code is She's Got Assets, and I have a link to sign up if you want to sign up. But I love working with students, and my whole goal is to really get you jump started quickly into getting things online. I even have strategies I have students that are getting, you know, booked and clients without even having their property furnished or fully listed. So there's a lot of strategies I think that can really save you money and make the investment well worth it. There's a lot of nuance to this, and there's tips and tricks that I've learned, and I have a whole process for how I do this that I've really dialed in. So I love sharing that with students and helping you just get up and running because, real estate investment, I think we're all in this for a lot of reasons, cash flow being one of them. And this has been the best way I've found to really maximize cash flow and provide a ton of value to the community and to help other people. So that's why I love this strategy. So yeah, again, if you're watching this after and you're interested in the midterm rental playbook course, drop a comment. That code expires in a couple days, limited spots, but it's a great deal. I'd love to work with you again. I'm just been getting inundated with leads, so I'd love to pass some of those off to my students if you guys have properties and want to join the course. So yeah, I don't see any questions, but yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, Susan has a question. If you don't own the house outright, if you're financing the house, what is the risk that income is not continuous? So I think you're talking about the arbitrage method. I don't teach that. I'm not a fan of it. A lot of people do it really well. That's essentially where you lease a property and have like a master lease and sublease it. So yeah, it works for a lot of people, and there is higher vacancy, but I'll say the reason we charge a premium is for the flexibility. So we just need to make sure we have reserves for that vacancy, but that's why we do charge a premium. There can be higher vacancy. In my opinion, if you're marketing correctly and getting ahead of things, you shouldn't have that much vacancy. And there's like levers you can pull to kind of maximize your listings or optimize it or change things seasonally, right? And I cover that in the course. So yeah, there is risk of vacancy, but it just depends on how you're optimizing your listings and how far ahead you get ahead of it. And a lot of things like calendar management and stuff like that. Hey Sherry, do I have MTRs outside of my home area? I don't. I'm fairly local. A lot of people do it really successfully. I think all the strategies I'm teaching and all the operational stuff, it could apply to out of the area. I mean, you're going to have the same team. You're going to have the same, kind of operating stuff in place. I think the key thing is having really good boots on the ground, like having a cleaner or like a handyman, but you're gonna need that in your local area, right? Because, I mean, if something breaks, I'm not showing up to fix it. I'm calling, like, my plumber or my electrician or whatnot to fix something, or my handyman. I don't show up with a wrench and fix a toilet. So I'm local, but a lot of people do this very successfully out of state, so it can be done. I think it's just having good systems in place. I hope that answered that. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions. Oh, thank you, Susan. Do you have to be a current landlord? No, you don't have to be a current landlord. I think it's helpful if you have a property. I think it'll give you an idea of what it takes to set it up, and it'll help you kind of analyze properties. I do have a totally different course. It's called the REI Playbook, and it's really all about how to buy your first investment property or scale your rental portfolio with off-market leads. I also teach on-market, but I have some specific marketing strategies that I've found really helpful, and especially has a real focus on owner financing. So I do have that course, but you don't have to have a property. I think it's geared towards someone kind of getting up and running quickly because I want your investment to pay off. But if you just want to like get a feel for what's involved and understand the types of properties, then yeah, 100% you can take it. So yeah, Sherry. Yeah, I'll offer it in the future. The doors open and close, and this discount is kind of a one-time thing just to celebrate that I bought the domain. She's got assets, but yeah, stay in the group. I'm always sharing information. Hopefully, you'll learn from that when you're ready. Let me know. So Susan's asking, do families who are displaced need to be in their neighborhood schools? Are they willing to move? That is a great question. So I get this all the time. They'll say like, I've got 2 adults, 2 kids, a dog and a lizard and duck or something like that. And they'll say like in the zip code, ideally they want to be close, right? Like 10 to 15 minutes is ideal. It depends on the type of property. There's all caveats to all of this. So it really depends. I think, yes, ideally their mandate is to stay close by, but it depends on inventory. If there's nothing around, they're going to have to travel. So yes, in a perfect world, right, it's like a few blocks away, but there's not always inventory. So I would say, I mean, they're probably not going to want to travel too far. And I have had leads where I have properties, but they're like a little too far away. So yes, that's a really good question. And it really depends, but I would say for the most part, they're looking to be in the same neighborhoods, to your point, because of schools and whatnot. Although we're getting into summer now, right? So that might not be as much of an issue as if we were like in the thick of the school year. I have kids who just got out, so that's why it's top of mind, but really good question. Thanks for showing the domain. Yeah, I worked with a domain broker. It was exciting. Yeah, it took me a long time to get my branding sorted out. Yeah, really good questions, you guys. Any other questions? I'm all ears. I really love the strategy, and I think what I love, I've said this a lot, but it's really providing a service for families, providing comfortable housing that's they can stay while their home's being rehabbed, while they're going through this really disruptive process. And there's a lot of unknowns, right? They're staying in a hotel, contractors are notoriously go long, they're dealing with adjusters. They're just it's just not a fun experience. So I think also keeping that in mind as we're working with clients, right? Just to make it as smooth as possible. But again, we get paid for that, right? We're getting paid very well for providing the service. So I truly think it's a win-win. We're not dealing with people on vacation that are fussing about the towels, or we ran out of toilet paper, or there was an ant or a hair on the sink, right? It's a very different avatar. I mean, that's great. I love short terms. Depends on your market, depends on your property, right? But for me, this is the niche that I've really loved and I loved coaching students on. Yeah. Yeah, a ton of insurance leads. Yeah, I have gotten that's how you advertise and market, right? It really comes down to the strategy that you use and how you position it, how you optimize it, and that's what I teach in the course, and that is a real game changer because putting a listing up that isn't optimized, it doesn't look good, that's not appealing, isn't gonna get you any leads, and then it's also, like, nurturing relationships with temporary housing companies, like, becoming a resource for them, and I do coach students on that and in the course how to do that. Um yeah, so that it definitely takes some time, but I think the goal is to become like the go-to person in your area, and I can coach people on that, but that's what I've tried to do. So even if I don't have a property, I'll put it out there and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this type of property," because 'cause I'd rather help them out and be a resource, even if it's not one of my properties. That's really my goal. Susan's asking, "What's the best way to expats who transferred overseas with their families?" I'm not sure I answered that question. I mean, there might be there's a lot of temporary housing companies that maybe there's ones that focus on that, and I would probably try and network with them specifically, but I haven't come across that, so I can't speak to that too specifically. But great question. It might be a good niche to, check out. But definitely, there's a lot of corporate housing providers, temporary housing providers. It is a huge industry, and let me tell you, they are always looking, and they're looking for quality rentals, a certain type. So if you have, great rentals and you have a good listing, I'm pretty certainly get leads and get it booked. It really just depends on how you're marketing it, and we cover all that in the course and all those tips. Um, yeah, and I have some tips on how to stay fully booked and how to kind of keep yourself top of mind even if you're not available. There's ways to kind of get leads even if you don't have anything specifically, just to kind of develop yourself as the go-to person. So yeah, any other questions? I don't mind at all. I'm about to take off for a networking event, but I'll hang on for a few minutes. Again, if you're watching this, I am offering a special discount code. It's $200 off the course. And if you're interested, set up a call with me. We can go over a strategy call, see if it's a good fit. And if it is, I'll invite you. I really want to make sure it's a good fit for someone. It is an investment, but I truly believe I can help you and get you off the ground and hopefully save you a lot of money and time and headache from all the because it's a process to set this stuff up, and it can be a little overwhelming. I think having really good checklists and processes just makes it that much easier, and someone to ask questions to in a community to be like, "Hey, am I doing this right? What do you think about this? This seems funky or whatnot," is really helpful. So awesome, Michelle. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I'm sure it's dinner time. They're past dinner time in some places. Again, if you're watching this or interested in the course, just hit me up, let me know, type a comment, and yeah, we'll connect. So thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys soon. Good night.